Okay, everybody well seated. So welcome everyone, and yeah, happy to welcome you on this incredible RTL beach in Cannes. It's actually so amazing to be there after sitting in our like living rooms or even bedrooms for some people during 2 years, and all of a sudden we are here on the beach drinking rosé, and yeah, having nice talks with everyone. So we know that we're still at the beginning of the week. People are not too drunk yet. People have brains that work pretty well still. And so we decided to put the technical topic at the very beginning of the week with, a topic that everybody wants to hear about, but no one wants to talk about because it's so technical, which is the measurements. And I'm happy to welcome two absolute experts in the field today here at the RTL Beach. Radha, Subramanyam. Amazing. That's why I didn't drink rosé before the panel. So you're Chief Research and Analytics Officer at CBS,
Yes.
Coming directly from the US, in between New York and Los Angeles, you said. And Guillaume Belmas, do we pronounce the S?
Absolutely.
So Guillaume Belmas, who's the newest addition to the RTL family with the Drive-to-Web attribution measurement company, Realytics. Welcome, Guillaume.
Thank you.
So just a quick round of intro just to explain you why measurement matters so much. You know, the great-great-grandfather of marketing that was called John Wanamaker, so it's a US guy from the 19th century. He once said, well, half of the money I spent in advertising is wasted. The problem is I don't know which half. And, well, the question is this still true nowadays in 2022? And you can think about, well, it's not true anymore. We have so much great data, so much great technology, so much great measurement. We know exactly where the money is going, and we know what dollar or what euro for us in France is wasted. But on the other way, media has become so much complicated. Like John Wanamaker, this guy, he was doing only print advertising. Now we do print, online prints, TV, CTV, online video, audio, digital audio, and everything, addressable TV. So yeah, there's much more to measure, and so that's why I'm happy to have some absolute experts to talk about it. But first of all, a quick round of intro, maybe Radha, starting with you. Can you give the audience a bit of insight about what you're doing at CBS?
Of course. Good to see you all. Thanks for having me. It's super fun to do something global for a change, and honestly to just hang out at the beach and drink rosé. And I see a lot of friends in the room, friends who are based in the US but work on a lot of your businesses, so welcome. So I'm the Chief Research and Analytics Officer, and unlike what he said, everyone in the US is always willing to talk about measurement. It's kind of funny because I've been in the measurement space for 20 to 25 years, and it's the sexiest thing around. So which is a little bit funny because, but I also think the preamble that you laid out, which is there are so many options and there is so much data and there's so much technology, all feeds into it. Why, at least in the U.S. market, everyone's talking about measurement all the time. So I want to sort of frame my role in the context of this room. So my team oversees all research, data, and analytics. But what that really means and what that really starts with is making the content great. Because if you don't have content that's great, then none of the other stuff matters. We won't have enough engaged audiences, enough interactions, enough sale of product, and so on. So we really start there. But also the one other thing I want to talk about is we work with advertisers, but when we work in attribution or any other form of data and measurement, we always test new methodologies on ourselves. Is that Americanism, eat your own dog food? Because if it works on your products and your services and you would feed it to your dog, then we will take it to our advertising clients. So I come at this as a content owner and marketer, but what we learn as content owners and marketers, we then bring into the marketplace and share via our ad sales functions.
Okay. Guillaume, can you tell us a bit more about Realytics and about yourself, of course?
Yes. So I'm Guillaume Belmas. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Realytics. This is a company we built 8 years ago now. And we are acting on the topic of convergence between TV and digital, because the way we consume TV has changed. and it is still changing, but also the way we have to measure TV advertising has to change and had to change. So this is why we created Realytics, and Realytics is a TV attribution platform. And the way it works is that we rely on the fact that people are watching TV, but they are actually doing something else. This is called multitasking, and we all do this right now. Even if we are just watching TV for half a minute, we still have our smartphones and tablets. And so this is a way we are actually connecting ourselves to the content, but also to the advertising. And this is how we rely on this fact to actually being able to measure the engagement of the TV viewers with any TV commercial. And that's great because, yes, measurement is actually sexy because we always say to our customers, there is what you believe in, and then there is what you measure. And you will find out that you often end up with having so many different things between what you believe and what you actually measure. So a lot of insights that actually create new opportunity to have more performance, of course, but then to have new scenarios and new approach to TV advertising. So this is what we are doing. And yeah, we are a very happy and proud new member of the RTL family, so very glad to be here.
Yeah.
So yeah, Radha, we will take advantage of the fact that you're here, and you just mentioned that measurement is so sexy in the US. And I think we are in Europe, we are mostly European audience, so we are all very keen about learning about what's happening in this market that leads the way for what's going to happen in our home market. So where are we with measurement in the US at the moment?
We could call it leading the way, or we could call it, learn from our mistakes as well, right? So we're just happy to share what we know because we have been at this for a long time. So the US market is obviously very different from the various individual European markets, but what is interesting is even though US is all about capitalism, anti-monopoly, competition, etc., that's now not how it historically operated in the measurement space. Because essentially there was a monopoly that was the only source of TV measurement and was dominant for a good 50 to 70 years. And it served a function, right? It served a function because buyer and seller could at least talk about the same number regardless of if the number was right or not, but that really started to be inadequate a few years ago and broke during COVID. So let me unpack that a little bit, right? So the first thing that happened is obviously when you have CTV and everything else, you need big data as much as you need small data or panel-based data because with fragmentation, if you're going to get to every view of a specific show, it's obviously going to be more complicated than a panel can handle, especially for smaller brands. Like at CBS, that's not quite an issue because we are the biggest TV network in the US. But as you get smaller and smaller, that becomes a core issue. So you need big data along with small data. But what we also found is during COVID, the whole panel process or panel-based measurement just broke, right? Because the incumbent had a very specific way of recruiting and engaging people, which was in-home visits to measure compliance and to make sure all the TVs were wired, and that if people had 5 TVs were getting measured and so on. But that broke because they didn't send people to homes. So we knew that during COVID, TV measurement, including linear TV measurement, was increasing significantly, but the measurement wasn't reflecting it. So we funded and other people funded a whole range of companies. Many of them are here at this event. Say hi to iSpot, say hi to VideoAmp, say hi to ComScore. There are, say hi to 605. There are a lot of companies who started stepping into the space because they saw that people like us were serious about it, right? That we actually wanted to innovate, we actually wanted to move things further, and we had our own data to bring into the journey as well. So it is actually a very competitive environment right now. Now, a lot of the big data spaces, they have their blind spots as well, including 20% of Americans who still get their television via what we used to call rabbit ears, but really antennas and digital antennas. And that's something I would look out for in Europe as well, because if you leave terrestrial viewing and don't measure it adequately, we could be losing 20 to 40% of impressions. So you have to watch out for that. That's a lesson learned. So big data by itself is not enough. You need big data and panel data, and you have to constantly cross-check. But ultimately, I think we are in a place because we've made a lot of investments. Different companies, including VCs, have started to invest. So we're actually at a point where, from a pure measurement perspective, there's a lot of investment and a lot of innovation that hopefully those companies will share in this week. And then in the attribution space, right? Many of us have been, digital attribution's been around forever. Some other businesses like audio got into it a good, 5 to 10 years ago. In TV, we've been in the attribution space for a good 5 to 6 years. And I will say that, again, attribution isn't this miracle thing. You can't use one thing and have it answer all your questions. You have to know what you're looking for. You have to know what you're solving for. Just like in measurement, you have to triangulate attribution sources with each other. So we find that some forms of TV attribution work incredibly well. Other forms don't. I would say that in the kind of you'll talk about this more, but in the sort of time-based or even the fractional econometric analysis, there's pretty good attribution, but so much of TV is long-term and brand-based, and that isn't adequately being measured yet, at least in the US context. So again, we see investment, VC, private equity, et cetera, in measurement and in attribution and in some of the technology in between, because there's a lot more tech needs in this ecosystem. So there's a lot going on, and it's very, very exciting, but I don't think we have crowned the kings and queens of the new regime yet, and I also don't believe there will be one king and one queen, or one non-binary person, right? I think there'll be a range of people we work with.
Okay. Maybe Realytics will be the next king in attribution. Hopefully. Guillaume, from your angle, so Radha talked about the once monopoly of audience measurements in the US. I have the feeling that in Europe it's still very much the case. Like the Médiamétrie, AGF, Barb, they are still very powerful and still bringing a lot to the market. But how do you see the attribution of, well, not alternative, but complementary metrics like drive to web attribution, like the one you perform in Europe? Is it only for very specific type of client, which is e-commerce clients, or is it becoming more popular in general? And are we getting in the same way than the US?
Actually, at the beginning, so at the beginning of when we launched our company, it was very specific to e-commerce, DNVBs, DTC brands. But more and more, and COVID kind of helps for this, but more and more brands are actually getting interested into having this drive-to-web attribution. Now, as you mentioned, it's not replacing the establishment, Médiamétrie and so on, because Médiamétrie is the GRP, the TV rating is the currency. It is a currency for doing planning, for buying, and measuring, of course, and it is another aspect that we are addressing here, and we are addressing it because there is a need, because more and more brands are investing onto digital advertising, and there is CPM, CPC, CPA, and so on, which you don't have on the TV advertising now. Of course, as a marketer, you want to compare the performance, you want to compare the way your investments are going, and it is possible for display, for video advertising, and so on, but it was not possible for TV advertising. For France, the market is moving forward to CPM, but we're not here right now. We're still on cost per GRP, and so the networks are moving toward this unique currency between digital and offline. But for when it comes to performance, it's a little bit different. And when you have all those e-commerce that are basically running since the first day with analytics, with CPC and so on, they are completely lost when they come to TV saying, okay, where's my analytics? Where are my KPIs? How do I operate my campaign? Because I need to have this. So this is the sweet spot. And it began like this, but then more and more brands are coming digital, and we were having a talk about this. Now more and more people are actually looking for information on the web before going to a store, before going to a physical store. So yeah, brands also have to take care about their digital presence, I would say, and even if they only have shops, people are going on the website. So drive to web is becoming more and more popular, even for the non-e-commerce brands, because they know that people will look on the internet for information before coming to their store. So if you watch TV, you will see that more and more commercials actually have CTA saying, hey, download my app, come to my website, and so on. So this is what we're measuring. This is the lower funnel in terms of attribution. It's a very good complement to the audience. And actually, yes, you're right. There's the data. There is the learnings you can pull out of the data, but you also need you also need to know how you manipulate those data. You need to at least know your objectives before looking into the data. Otherwise, you can end up taking bad decisions.
If I could just build on that and share where we at least are, not ended up because it never ends, from at least our company and how we're thinking about the marketplace, right? So deals will get done on, CPMs or whatever. I mean, deals, that'll be the currency. And the various media metric providers will be the currency that we transact on. But we are helping people optimize their campaigns, through attribution, lower or even mid-funnel. Because if we can partner with them in flight and help them move things around, and actually even more than moving media, just help them figure out which piece of creative is working better than which other piece. I think they really can coexist quite well.
So you're thinking about market solutions that will enable advertiser and agency to trade across the whole market, and some more private or proprietary solution by advertiser or publisher that will allow to optimize?
No, yeah.
You're talking more about data sharing, right?
Yeah, so we're talking about, ultimately we believe measurement is a team sport. And that we can't, this is, different from GAFAs and some other companies you've been talking about. I just learned that acronym today because we were stuck in the FANG acronym, so I feel I have to use that. So for us, measurement, and there's, OpenAP is here. That's where a lot of the TV industry has come together as a consortium, and that's what we're learning from Europe, how to play well in a sandbox and how to play well in a consortium. So we always believe that measurement will be a team sport because it is too hard to trade on so many individual currencies. But as an individual company, we can use other forms of data that are coming in where it makes sense. It won't make sense for the Super Bowl or many of my shows, but where it makes sense, we can help clients optimize on the fly. But I do believe that measurement will be a team sport because you need transparency, you need visibility, and without that, we'll all be grading our own homework, to use another Americanism. Eat your own dog food, grade your own homework.
Yeah. I'll be American speaking by the end of this panel, most probably. And yeah, when it comes to the outcome, we already touched the topic about panel versus data, and I think we got the answer. I was going to say, do you believe more in panel? Do you believe more in data? We really believe in a mixture of both of them to provide a consistent measurement.
100%, right? Because ultimately you want representation. You want all the people who are watching your programs and buying your products and services to be counted. So in the US context, for example, right? It doesn't work if you're not counting Hispanics, who eat food and buy cars and invest in telco like everybody else. It doesn't work if the Asian population is missing. And I'm talking about broad demographics, but also if you're good in many categories, but you're really terrible at pharma, that doesn't work as well, right? So you do need representation, and I have really struggled with this or worked on this for a good 10 years. You need really robust panels, and you need really good big data, and you need to know the challenges and opportunities of each. And as media sellers and media providers, you need those data people and those analytics people in-house, because there are some partners and vendors here, will try to sell you what they have, and they're doing what they're supposed to do, right? Which is sell you their product. But it's incumbent on us to make sure that we take the pieces from them that are valuable, and then supplement it with other things, because then we'll be measuring the entirety of a program or the entirety of a campaign.
Yes, we come from the big data field, so of course we love big data. But however, I agree with this, because when it comes to deterministic measurement, so having really the right data to do this, you need to have 100% of the data, not 99 or 90, 100%. Otherwise, you end up having an incomplete set of data, and so you end up having partial measurement and then maybe wrong decisions. So yes, it's
well, because by the way, most of the cases is not 99; it's 40%.
Yeah.
Practically speaking, right? So you're really wrong.
Yes. So that's why even when it comes to analytics, it's on the paper it's easy to get 100%. This is technically possible, but then there is all the magic of tech, and then you end up losing data and you don't even know about it. So yeah, correcting this with panel-based things is important, also to have a right measurement, a right representation of what we do, and this is also what we are including in all the algorithm we are developing. There's also you need to have this kind of watchdog to ensure that the data and all the analysis you're delivering are right.
We quickly touch on two companies that we all love in the broadcast industry, Meta and Google, or Meta and Alphabet, not to name them in the name everybody knows them for. And you mentioned measurement to be a team sport. Are they playing like a team with the other media players at the moment? And are we able to build a media measurement with them?
You go first.
No, they don't. I mean, we are struggling with these kind of things, because most of our customers are saying, okay, I'm using Google Analytics. Can you connect to Google Analytics? Yes, we can try. And actually, when you manage to do this, then so I shouldn't speak too loud, they're just there.
Speak very loud.
Okay, speak very loud. Don't change your APIs, please. And when you have access to this, sometimes you end up having no more access. And yeah, it is their decision. And even some of our customers are struggling with this, saying, okay, so how can I manage this? Well, change. I mean, there is no other things you can do, and so we're struggling now. We are also kind of sneaky. We're trying to leverage the things we can do. For example, having those demographic data coming from Google, because this is the biggest data source of demographic data you can find over the world. So hello, okay. Don't cut my microphone yet.
They were listening.
They were listening, yes.
Okay, Google just cut you off.
They send you a virus to kill your microphone.
So I mean, you can end up trying work with those data, because they can be super accurate and great data, but at the end of the day, you need to learn to live without them.
So I'm going to take a different tack, and I'm actually going to zoom out for a second and talk about it from our client's point of view and our point of view as a marketer, and then we can talk about, well, I never talk about individual companies, but we can, see them in that context. So our clients want to know how to spend their money across media. I mean, that's a very basic question, right? But the other customer who's incredibly important is my viewer. And so when I talk to partners, this includes Mark Pritchard at P&G or whoever, like top CMOs, I'm always trying to bring in what are we trying to solve for. So people will tell me, we have to control for reach and frequency because people are over-frequenting, right? So I'm like, okay, but if you talk to your customer, are they saying that I got, 10 ads of the same kind within my whatever, streaming service? Or are they actually complaining that they saw something on TV and they're being over-frequented on the web if it's outside of search retargeting or something like that, right? So you can solve for everything. So our point of view is let's focus on television in all of its forms and solve within that, and we'll play with other people as needed. So the WFA, you all know, has this global initiative going. I want to just share where we've netted out in the US. So in the US, the ANA is acting the role or the local market representation of the WFA's principles. We in TV, and we sat through a lot of those meetings, right? Designed by people we shall not name, that were then given to the WFA, and they didn't make sense. Like a lot of them, either we couldn't understand them, but we're perfectly smart people, so we're like, why didn't they make sense? Or, we couldn't re-explain them in our company. And in some cases, we didn't believe they were right. So what we tried to just work and do this group project for a really long time, but instead, we, the television companies, went away. We came up with our own solution through the consortium called OpenAP, and we will make our data available to them. It can be ingested into their formats and their algorithms and their APIs and so on, but we in TV are controlling what data and how that data gets represented. And so we feel we are kind of masters or mistresses of our own destiny instead of being victims. And that's been very empowering. And I want to just say one other thing, right? You cannot equivalize impressions. A half-second, sort of viewable, below-the-fold thing on some digital provider of choice is not the same thing as a Super Bowl spot or an NCIS spot, whether you're watching it on OTT or watching it on linear TV. You simply cannot equivalize the sight, sound, and motion and the good production value and the context for some of these, and that's what some of these efforts are driving towards, which is an equivalization of impressions, which we can be clear we're 100% against. 30 seconds is not the same as 1 second. Something this big is not the same as a big screen TV, and the quality and context matters.
And we will have a panel about attention and the value of attention in media. I think it's tomorrow with Danielle and. With Daniel and Karen Nelson-Field, about the increasing complexity of measurement. You talked about data scientists. You talked about solutions, and I think we see something very interesting rising that can solve complexity is self-learning algorithm and kind of artificial intelligence. Do you think artificial intelligence will solve the challenge of measurement somehow? Guillaume, the techie guy.
AI, super wide topic. Of course, I believe in AI since it was my academic training, actually. But so, yes, AI can solve a lot of things. Now, AI relies on data. So you need to take care and think about the data first, and then the AI. Because if you feed your AI with bad, partial data and so on, then you will end up having a bad partial AI. So it's a matter of having the right data, and then you cannot address everything with AI. I mean, there are a lot of things that, of course, you can solve, and have a easier approach to measurement and so on, and even optimization, which is great. But then there is also something you cannot replace, which is human. So yes, of course, AI can solve a lot of things, and I'm supporting AI, but trust me, the data is super important, even before all the algorithms.
So you're going to make me drop a third Americanism today. We already did eat your own dog food. We did grade your own homework. So now it's time for garbage in, garbage out. And I'm not even Native American, though I've lived, in America most of my life.
It's actually the polite version, right?
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out. No.
Okay.
So again, I completely agree with what you were saying. And I want to there are things. So first of all, it starts with the data, right? Because AI is only as intelligent as the data you feed it. and you have to be there constantly watching it and improving it and ensuring that as better data comes into the marketplace, the AI engine is ingesting it and getting better and is not full of biases. I mean, you've heard the great, hiring stuff where some of these big companies only hire people who look like themselves because those were the resumes they already had in the database and so on.
It's also a matter of representativity, right?
Yeah, representation, right? So the data that's getting fed into the AI has to be representative. But let me build on that a little bit, right? There are cases where AI is super useful. So when you have a recommendation engine, right? If you like this, you like this. And you're only in that ecosystem. You're not talking about shows outside of that ecosystem or books that are not sold by that provider. But when you're in that ecosystem, if you like this, you like that, recommendation engines work fine. And they get better over time, and anyone can write a recommendation. I mean, literally, my 13-year-old could write a recommendation engine algorithm at this moment, right? Because so much of it has become commodified and so on. So AI totally works there. AI also works in what we used to call lookalike modeling, but it's really about identifying lookalike audiences and segments and so on. So AI works fine there, assuming that the data is representative, right? I have seen AI be an input into attribution, but it cannot solve attribution. It cannot really yet solve for measurement. That's why you need the panel and the big data, because AI in and of itself will be super highly biased. And then the last thing is there's been and I want to mention this because we're at Cannes, there's been a lot of talk, and I've been pitched many times about AI and creativity, and that does not work. Like, AI is not going to help you write a song or make a better television show or anything like that. I mean, that's where the human is 100% important in the creative process. But we've used AI to do things like, okay, here are the things humans know how to do well. Can I make this show even better through AI and through focus? And that's an entire presentation unto itself. But there's a role for AI in creativity as long as you know what you're doing. And again, I'll turn back to all of you in Europe, which is, make sure you have really smart analytical people on your teams who can look across market research, big data, AI, and panel data, because then you'll know where you can use it and where it's a liability.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we are in the right place to find a lot of smart and creative people here in Cannes. Thank you very much, Guillaume. Thank you very much, Radha. It was a pleasure to be here with you. And thank you everyone that attended, and looking forward to our other panels. Thank you.